that particular club. But he was brought in, and it was an unusual appointment. I don't think anybody could see it coming. No. We're not Tottenham fans, but I don't even think the ardent Tottenham fan could see Igor Tudor being parachuted in to save them. And unfortunately for the manager, well, we know what his record is. His record is that, and finishing off with that performance tonight. And it wasn't just the performance tonight, it was everything on the periphery, the peripheral nonsense about the goalkeepers, how he chose his team, how he chose his setup. At half-time, he's gone back to bringing on Solanke, who you thought should have played Conor Gallagher, he brought Xavi Simons on, who you thought, well, they spent big money on, why isn't he playing Paulinho, who would have been ideal for tonight. He's almost decided his own fate, really, tonight. Every decision he made, he's gone against it at half-time. It was the most surreal performance.
4 games in charge, 4 losses, 14 goals conceded. That is some record. How do they get out of this now?
Honestly, they're in such a difficult position as a club. As you say, it's not just all his fault. He's walked into a club that's been struggling for a little while now. But you bring someone in to lead the ship, and it just feels like, I know when Daniel Levy was there, he was very much felt the brunt when Spurs were struggling, but at the moment it's just who's at the top of the chain. You just don't know who's in charge of what's going on.
And you're right, it goes back so much further, not just in this season, the previous season, and perhaps you could go back seasons before that of when they started to go wrong. That is perhaps for another day. In the league, 1 point from safety, 11 league games without a win, and obviously that's Thomas Frank and his reign there, now moving on to Igor Tudor. There are big calls, and you were making them too, about players playing out of position.
Yeah.
And these players that we're seeing on the pitch, the look on their faces, Maka, what must they be feeling now? Not just today, but this stretch.
I mean, they look lost, a lot of the players, don't they? Of course, they're trying their heart out. They don't want to be in a relegation battle. They know what Tottenham's all about. They know what the stadium's like. They know what financial impact it will have if they get relegated, because a lot of them will be in their contract. So they know what it's all about. But with the injury problems they've had, and they've had more tonight, it just seems to be piling on one after the other, and now they have to go to Anfield at the weekend. And the 3 centre defenders were off today, and Paulinho went off with concussion, so I don't know whether they can play at the weekend. So if anything, tonight is just, forget about the result, just the overall optics of the game has actually made things a lot worse. The manager's behaviour I didn't like tonight. Listen, some of the players, that's just down to bad luck. The 4th goal, the Vicario, great save over the line. That's just bad luck, but they just need to keep on fighting and responding. But it's very difficult when you're playing out of position and you've got someone inside you out of position as well. Nobody seems to know where they should be, where they should defend, how they should... You could see tonight, we mentioned before the game, Lookman's wide left, Simeone's wide right, yet they were so narrow that they were getting caught all the time around the side. You wonder whether anybody's doing the homework, because the 3 at the back today just did not work at all. They got caught time after time after time. And that just makes you think even more, what on earth is going on? Yeah. This is not just team selection, this is plus something else and something else and something else, and that's the worrying thing about it.
About how things went down here tonight, because we want to take you through the first 3 goals and really just establish the situation with Spurs, because look, it was a really big call to change the goalkeeper and bring Kinsky in when your goalkeeper, Vicario, has actually got the most clean sheets in the Champions League so far. Yes, his form in the Premier League might have let him down a little bit. However, perhaps it might not have been the best performance or best decision to throw in Kinsky in his Champions League debut. We questioned that decision before the game kicked off, and then when it did, we can show you the 3 goals really that were just, I mean, you called it heartbreaking to watch back, Joe.
Yeah, that's just a disastrous start. 6th minute, I think that was. He'd started okay, not really had any chance to kind of establish himself on the game, and that is just brilliant from Atletico. We've got to praise the opposition in this. You know, it's not gone straight to him. It's not like the 3rd goal. They've had to set it up, smash it in the corner, and that's when you just start thinking. Danzo saying, "Don't worry, you're in the team for a reason." And then, you know, it's at the end of the day, it's not just Kinsky tonight.
Correct, Joe.
That's Van der Ven slipping as well.
Van der Ven wheel spin, and then ruthless. This is the level Griezmann. He just never in doubt. Sucked Danzo in and then ripped it back in the bottom corner. Yeah.
And then for 3-0, could you almost see that his confidence is shot to bits? You'll see it in a second. Is this a personal... How would you explain this one?
Well, no, really, because the fact that he was thinking of playing this pass suggests he's high in confidence, the boy. I mean, I know he had a disastrous... he slipped for the first, but That is a difficult pass. Why doesn't he just go with his left foot and clear his lines? They're 2-0 down, but he's tried to play a ball across his body. I mean, Joe, you step in. He doesn't need to play that ball.
Look, let me tell you, to get to this level that he's at, signed by Tottenham, playing for Tottenham, one mistake does not alter you as a goalkeeper. You can't afford to alter you. That one is a technical error. He's tried to play a difficult pass with his left foot across his body. But what precedes that? Do you know what? Was it the right decision? Maybe it was. It was the right decision. He's on the floor. Tottenham are struggling.
Yeah.
But what I saw afterwards, I hate being reactive. I hate it because I want to know all the facts before I make a call and before I start coming for someone. But the fact that he's taken him off in that situation, having played him, he's young, you know, he's 22, people will argue he's a man. He's not, he's just trying to establish himself. He's done nothing in that game to try and hurt Tottenham. He's had a bad moment, he slipped, and then that's a really bad moment. That's a technical fault. But to just rip him off in this situation, not even acknowledge the guy, every single one of Tottenham's players who were feeling the pain for him, you could see it, and they just didn't know what to do. They just didn't know how to play it. Like, how is that good for him?
He's 22, he's from the Czech Republic, he's been at Tottenham for a year. Yes, he's getting paid Premier League, Champions League wages. He's a young boy learning his trade still. He's only 22, as we keep saying. We all understand what happened. We all understand what happened in the game. We all understand the mistakes he's made. But as you said, it wasn't about that. It was about being a figure, being somebody to say, you know what, don't worry about it. It was just a small thing he needed to do, the manager, just to show that I've got no problem with the sending off. I've got no problem with the substitution either. Vicario should have played. I've got no problem with him bringing him off. He's trying to save him, but then go over and make him and say to him, don't worry, I'm sorry, it takes 5 seconds. Don't worry about it. I'm with you. We'll deal with it later and move forward. The optics looked terrible. That was the only thing we thought about at half-time. You're not doing anything to help that kid's career at all.
Is that decision symptomatic of what Spurs fans have been frustrated in the decisions that he is making, playing players not necessarily in their preferred positions or the right positions, making calls like this? It feels like there's not much thought process involved.
Chaos has ensued since he's come in. You know, it's been the performances, they've really struggled. I think Fulham, they should have been out of sight. They ended up losing 2-1, doesn't look too bad on the eye. Crystal Palace, they're 1-0 up. Got away with a real tight call of an offside. Van der Ven goes off. It just seems to be happening all season. And then, you know, regardless of the goals that were scored, like, I think Atletico actually dropped their level to an extent. Yeah. I think Simeone was almost trying to whip the crowd up and remind them that they're there to perform too. It was just absolute. You just couldn't work out. Even the fact that he's not owned the changes beforehand. You know, he's had 5 days before the game. You just don't know where you stand with this Tottenham team, and things just keep happening that you never thought would happen. They're piling on top of each other.
Yeah, I don't know about the ins and outs of Tottenham at the moment. I don't know how this manager is perceived or not. All we can see is what goes on the pitch, and it looks very chaotic. His choice of players, his changes are all that. He seems to change it round a lot. He doesn't stick to a 4-4-2, playing the best players in the best positions and being strong. And in times of trouble, we get back, we get condensed, we defend and we wait and we counter-attack. There's no plan. It just seems to be, I'm going to put 11 players on the pitch, and if it's not going to go right, I'm going to put 3 more on and take 3 off. And that's what it looked like tonight. As I mentioned before the game, Paulinho on loan, Xavi Simons a lot of money, Solanke who scored against Crystal Palace, who comes on again and scores again today. So why aren't they starting? Why isn't Paulinho sitting in the middle of the park today and not moving, just shutting stuff down? But he mustn't fancy him, or whether he doesn't know enough of the players, knowledge of the players, and know what their best positions are. As I said, I don't know. I'm not privy to what goes on behind the scenes at Tottenham, but I'm a bit like Joe. When I look at them now, it's like a rudderless ship. I don't know who's the chief exec. I don't know who's the sporting director, if they have one. I just know they catapulted this Igor Tudor in to try and stop the rot, and it's not happening at all.
I just want to take you back, Joe, for a second on the 17 minutes that he was on the pitch, Kinsky's on the pitch, and he's now come off, and obviously it's going to be devastating for him. Who consoles him, and how do you build him back up?
Oh, that's like I say, it is a thing with goalkeeping, and yeah, you have got to accept that you're going to have nights like that. Everyone has them. You could scroll through Manuel Neuer's career, Peter Schmeichel's career, Gigi Buffon, and they're rightfully at that top of the list of being the greatest goalkeepers to ever play the game. But they've had moments. You can have really bad games, but it's just everything that's gone on top of it and not being looked after, he'll feel so unwelcome in that Tottenham. He'll certainly feel unwelcome as far as the management are involved. I know they've got a really good goalkeeper coach there who's got a big heart. You need humans. You've got to be treated like a human just for a little bit. I understand the situation. I understand the troubles the club are in, but you need to have a human side, just in life in general. And look at him. He knows. He's taking those deep breaths. He knows. He sees it.
That's what he needs. This is the substitution. This is what he needs. This is what he thinks. I don't want to get substituted. No. Just leave me. Let me make a save. Let me get back into the game. And there was one person, I think it was Alan Joe said, who's like the player liaison, the team manager, who consoled him afterwards. But it should have been someone higher up than him. I mean, I know he's one of the lads, but it should have been a member of staff to really console him. That was the only thing that disappointed me. We
saw some of the players rallying around him after one or two of the goals, and then obviously when he went off. Does this kind of situation have the potential to divide a dressing room as well and separate the players even more so from the manager?
This needs getting a serious grip of. And that can be owned. Look, stuff happens, madness happens in football all the time, Mac. That was mad. Maybe he didn't handle it how he should have handled it, any of them. He's not played well. The manager could have consoled him. All can be sorted out. You can just stand in front of each other, honest conversations, bit of honesty down the camera, get that camaraderie. That's the team. I saw the whole bench, 5 or 6 of the lads, hearts dropped for him. Because ultimately, that's Paulinho. They're not saying you shouldn't have come off, mate. They're saying, don't worry, we're here for you. Like I say, human side of things. And that can get you through in difficult times. But if you're not willing to show it, that's when it starts to divide.
That is the loneliest position on the pitch. You miss a chance, no problem. You get more. I played in midfield. I had 100 mistakes during the game, but you know what? If it doesn't mean they're going to concede. The poor goalie makes a slip first, back of the net, then another one back of the net, and that's the problem. That's why it's such a lonely sport and a lonely position in this. And that's why you feel for them. We've all had goalkeepers who make mistakes and they are distraught in the dressing room because they take it really, really personally. And you say, don't worry about it. The centre-forward missed a chance. It's his fault. But the goalkeepers take it personally because they're a special breed. They train with them. They warm up together. They're very, very close. So you feel for them whenever he has a night like this, especially because he's inexperienced. If he was Manuel Neuer, you'd probably just go, well, he'll be able to handle it because he's had good times. But he's a 22-year-old just making his debut. Devastating for him.
You saw there as El Danzo, Pedro Porro. Pedro actually is one of the players who he can be quite feisty and he can wear his heart on his sleeve, but he is one of those players that actually is giving heart, and perhaps that Spurs players are looking at and saying, well, at least we're seeing some fight from him.
Like I say, I said it against Palace. I don't see people down in tools. I just see top players who just look totally lost. They've lost their confidence, Macca. They're not really working in unison. The direction isn't quite there. And that's when stuff like this starts to happen. You see the likes of Van der Ven slipping. Look, I know the pitch would have been difficult tonight, and I absolutely stand on this. The boys would have had the right footwear on. They would. But you didn't see the Atletico players slipping. It's just one of those things at the moment. They're just very unsure of how they're playing, how they're positioning themselves, and it's just snowballing.
Yeah, you can't necessarily fault their attitude tonight.
No.
They didn't down tools tonight. The second half, they competed and they worked hard and they got back into the game. The second half was 1-1, wasn't it? It was 4-1 and then 1-1. So you can't say they actually down tools. It's just that when things start to go wrong, they haven't got a leader to say, right, that's enough for 10 minutes. We'll just pump it up there and we'll get organised. And that's the only thing that worries me, because everything from now to the end of the season is going to be tough. They've still got injuries. They've got more injuries next week. It's going to be hard work. And you need somebody just to galvanise them and make them hard to beat.
Yeah. Let's continue with the analysis and see what happened next. So 4-0, this is after Vicario came on. He actually makes quite a good save there.
Yes, and credit to Vicario, he's been dropped tonight, and then he's been asked to go on, out you go, lad, and sort that out for me.
No.
And
that's just bad luck, Joe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, isn't it?
Yeah. But it's too easy for a ball whipped in, and like we say, that's 4-0 in a stadium like this, baying for blood, and then after that they managed to pull it together a little bit, and this is a really good goal actually by Pedro Porro.
They were galvanised, Macca, at this point in the game.
Yes, they were. They responded really well. I mean, if you analyse the goals singularly, it was a slip, it was a mistake, it was 2 slips, it was a mistake. You can almost count that off, and you think to yourself, it's just one of those nights when things are going bad. just back on them. And this was, you know, this was an incredible
was
12
crazy.
seconds. You know, Richarlison makes that. That's an incredible touch from Griezmann. And then, I mean, I don't know how quick Julian Alvarez is or how slow Pedro Porro is, but that's quite surreal. He's running with the ball. He has 3-4 touches, but he should score. Pump in the air, and then a moment of class, and then a touch, and just the sprint away. Pedro Porro can't get anywhere near him. Julian Alvarez is running away from him in the end.
Yeah, it's one of those sliding doors moments,
Isn't it just?
I mean, big save.
You guys were talking about Solanke earlier on. 3 goals now in 3 Champions League games, and he makes it 5-2, which feels slightly more respectable in a game where, like you said, they could have got their heads completely out of it.
There's Jan Oblak, one of the biggest and the best and one of the most experienced. Pablo Barrios has run towards him, a simple pass, and he thinks something completely different. Dominic Solanke smashes one home, and you know what? We won't even concentrate on Jan Oblak because he's just won 5-2, and that's the life of a goalkeeper.
Yeah, that couldn't be summed up anymore.
Just like that.
Yeah.
Good night. If we could start with the first half, after 15 minutes, you subbed off the keeper Kinsky on his first Champions League start. Was it a wrong decision to give him a start tonight?
No, after you see what happened, for sure is a wrong decision. But it was for me right decision to do, thinking before, you know, because the team changed the competition. It was a moment right to do. Unfortunately, happened what happened. Never change a goalkeeper after 20 minutes, but it's like it's happened.
Obviously, there was no acknowledgement from you when he came off the pitch. Have you spoken to him since? And is there any sort of worry from you in terms of his future confidence after that?
No, it's moment like we don't need to comment. It's not moment to speak too much. Strange game, very strange game. You know, it happened. You know, we scored. We give them 3 goals. After we even start good, but then the problems kill us. That 3 situation. Very, very, very strange. Very unusually. So it took us confidence. Then we start. You know, we did quite something. We had opportunity to make 4-2, and then we could see the goal for 1-1, 5-2. You know, we apologize to the fans who were today, also to everyone. You know, had a difficult moment.
Igor, you were brought in.
Everything looks like going wrong. Every small mistakes we pay. Everything like he's doing. It's unbelievable. Even this now situation in the end, 2 players. They have this kick between them, 2 players out. It looks like everything is going in against us.
You were brought in to make instant impact. It's now 4 losses from 4 games. In those games, 14 goals conceded. Do you still have confidence that you can turn this around?
I need to keep working. As I said, not speaking too much, stay focused on things we can do. You know, as I said before, unbelievable, difficult to explain everything. You know, it's the first time I see this, all the things in my career, 15 years. So what I can tell you, I'm focused to resolve the problems, the player also. So we need to stay positive.
When things are difficult, you will be asked to explain what's going wrong. Do you expect to be given time from the club to turn this around?
It's not about me. It's not moment even to explain too much. In the way we need to stay calm and less talking. You know, less talking better is.
In terms of less talking, you've made changes. You've tried to change things in games. Why do you believe things aren't working?
No, I said better less talking. Now it's not moment to try to give big explanation. You know, we need to stay calm and continue.
Thanks, Igor.
Thanks,
Well, that was a quick. I don't even think it was a goodbye. But look, we've seen tonight he doesn't really like saying goodbye to many people, does he? Straight down the tunnel after the game. No acknowledgement of the travelling fans. Look, he would rather not speak, but questions need to continue to be asked, and he must provide answers. He is the manager.
100%. Like we say, we talk about Tottenham Hotspur at the moment. They're faceless. Who's in charge of it? Because how can your man who's being put in charge to steer Tottenham in a better direction, in a more safe direction, not want to speak? What sort of messages is he sending there? Yeah. He sent absolutely no message to the players. Did he send a message to the fans? Because he said he apologised to them there. He didn't acknowledge them in the stadium. To say that you're not willing to speak, that's your job. Yeah. You're the coach. Yeah. You're the manager of the football club. It's no surprise the club are under the cosh at the moment. They're massively under the cosh. You need someone standing up in front of the media, just to reassuring everyone. You can send messages to your opponents. You can send messages to your players, and it's just not being used. The power of the media. We're in the Premier League. We're in the Champions League.
He was spiky yesterday before the game, and you would have thought. I mean, you would have thought that the Champions League was a bit of a respite from the Premier League. So coming into this tournament, because they've done so well, and you think it's like he'd have a breath of fresh air. But yesterday he was very spiky, wasn't he, with George Beach, his interview? And again, he hasn't helped himself today. He should be there fronting up. Unfortunately, he's the one who needs to front up. He's the one who's getting paid from now to the end of the season, firefighting, getting bonuses to stay in the Premier League. So he is the one who needs to come up. And as Joe said, when it's bad, say it's bad. Say you apologise. Say I'm sorry. Yeah, we'll do this. We'll do that. And have this air of positivity. We understand it was bad luck today. We understand the first 3 goals. And you're right, Romero, Paulinho getting concussion, that'll miss Saturday. Van der Ven being suspended. You know, that is, everything is just piling on top and on top and on top. But he knew that when he brought in. He was brought in because they were in a dire position. The fact that he's made them more dire is on him. So he has to front up and come out with some positivity, because they've got a great fan base and a wonderful stadium. And if they can't beat Liverpool and they get knocked out next week, they have to beat Tottenham. They have to beat Nottingham Forest, at home. So that's what he has to be aiming for. He can't just come out and go, oh, we're terrible, we're terrible, we're terrible, and then move on.
He almost tried to say that they were unlucky tonight.
Unlucky, yeah.
That's not the message that you want to hear, you know.
Those you saw there, look, the injuries that Spurs have had to deal with,
terrible,
for any manager is a lot. And obviously you add Mickey van der Ven to that, suspended in the next game. We can have a look at the fixtures again, actually, because I think it's important. Liverpool away,
at Anfield,
who are desperate to get points in the Premier League now and try and secure their hopes of Champions League football. Then this second leg at home, and if that doesn't go well, and there's not even a slight improvement, that could be absolutely toxic.
Look, it's not his fault, the situation that Tottenham are in. And like I say, this is a real test for me as a pundit, because I don't like doing this. This is not what I got into the game for.
He's been in the job for 4 games, and you don't want to stick the boot into the poor fella.
No, but I'm just going off. I'm just going off what I want from a head coach in these situations. And it's not about being perfect. It's not about coming here and have a tactical masterclass, and you're not going to turn it around with a 3-0 win. It's about being together. It's about sending messages to the club, to the players. All right, you're not going to win every game. You can't just turn Tottenham round. But you need to send a message for the rest of the season. And I'm not getting it off him. I'm getting a vibe of very much that it's not my fault. Everything that's gone on around me is not my fault, and I don't quite know what to do. So I'm going to keep changing things. And as Maka said, different positions, kind of sticking up for people, but also not sticking up for them at the same time. It's not what I'd want to see from a manager in a situation like this. And like I say, it's not his fault.
Do they stick or twist now? They have a big decision to make.
I think that, unfortunately, and I'm the same as Joe, I think they twist because they've twisted that many times. They may as well go again. I don't think they'll win at Anfield. Even the best Tottenham teams don't win at Anfield, unfortunately, and they're decimated by injuries. Then they've got Nottingham Forest. I think they're out of this tournament, so they're not going to beat these 3-4, 5-0 at Tottenham. They've got Nottingham Forest at home, and then it's the international break. They have to go plan for that game. They need 3 points against one of their rivals at the bottom of the league. Get that done, they may have a chance. And then they've got the international break, but I think they will twist after what's happened tonight, what I've seen.
Joe, a friendly face was watching on in the stands tonight and probably did not like what he was seeing whatsoever, the USA coach, Mauricio Pochettino. And you could even go back to the days when he was there and was let go after a Champions League final and some change a few months after that. Did it all start to go wrong then?
Who's to know? Honestly, you know, they had such a great thing going at Tottenham under Mauricio Pochettino, and I think they put themselves in that good a position that not winning the Champions League and not winning the league felt like a big failure, and he ended up losing his job because of it. But just how it's gone since then, it just seems like it's you know, with the managers that they brought in, they've gone for it, you know. Conte, Jose Mourinho, then they've gone down the Ange route in terms of playing total soccer. And wedged in amongst all this, they won a Europa League. Like,
As the old saying, it happens gradually and then suddenly, doesn't it?